It's a different story. Every day, we find ourselves stuck in the endless cycle of thoughts. We think about what we want to achieve, the goals we want to reach, and the dreams we want to chase. But here's the truth, just thinking won't get you anywhere. It's the action that matters. If you keep thinking and never start doing, you'll never know what you're truly capable of. Overthinking can be one of the biggest barriers to personal growth and success. We all do it. We get caught up in our heads, imagining every possible outcome, weighing every decision, and creating scenarios in our minds. But the problem is that this overthinking doesn't lead us anywhere. It keeps us stuck in the same place, circling around our thoughts, unsure of which way to go. And the more we think, the less we do. It's a vicious cycle. The truth is that when you think too much, you can paralyze yourself. You start questioning every decision, wondering if you're making the right move or if there's a better option out there. But what if I told you that waiting for everything to be perfect or for the right moment is just a form of procrastination? The right moment is never going to come unless you make it. The perfect plan is never going to materialize unless you start putting in the work. When you think too much, you're focused on all the reasons why something might go wrong, or all the potential obstacles that might get in your way. Your mind starts building walls, making the task ahead seem more daunting than it actually is. The fear of failure becomes a barrier, holding you back from taking that first step. But if you continue to wait for the perfect moment to take action, you'll keep waiting forever. Action is the antidote to overthinking. When you start doing, even in small ways, you move past the fear and doubt that holds you back. You make progress, and that progress fuels more action. It's like pushing a boulder up a hill. The first push is the hardest, but once you get going, the momentum builds. The more you act, the easier it becomes, and the more action you take, the clearer things become. What once seemed overwhelming becomes more manageable, and you start to gain confidence in your ability to succeed. But don't expect the path to be easy. The first steps will likely feel uncomfortable, uncertain, and even a little scary. You might not have all the answers, and you might stumble along the way, but that's okay. Every time you take action, you're learning. You're growing, you're improving, and each mistake or setback is an opportunity to refine your approach and become better. How do you break the cycle of overthinking and start doing? The first thing is to stop waiting for everything to be perfect. Perfection is an illusion. There is no perfect time, no perfect plan, no perfect person. There is only now. Start where you are with what you have and move forward. It doesn't matter how small the step is. What matters is that you're taking it. Break your big goals into smaller, manageable tasks. Instead of thinking about everything you need to do all at once, focus on one thing at a time. Take that first step, no matter how small. Each action will bring you closer to your goal, and before you know it, you'll have made more progress than you thought possible. Stop making excuses. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to take action. Procrastination is a silent killer of dreams. If you continue to put things off, you'll keep missing opportunities and letting time slip away. The sooner you start, the sooner you'll see results. And remember, it's not about getting it perfect, it's about getting it done. Success does not come from staying in the comfort zone. In fact, it's the opposite. Growth, innovation, and progress all happen when we step out of what feels familiar and challenge ourselves to do something new, something that pushes our limits. The comfort zone is a safe place, but it's also a stagnant one. It's a place where nothing changes, where nothing grows, and where we remain exactly where we started. If you want to experience true success, you need to learn how to move past the comfortable and embrace the unfamiliar. When we stay in our comfort zones, we avoid risks, we avoid uncertainty, and yes, that's understandable. It's human nature to want to feel secure, to want to be in control. But the thing is, True success doesn't live in security. It lives in risk. It lives in the unknown. Every time you step out of your comfort zone, you take a step towards discovering what you're truly capable of. You get to see yourself handle challenges, navigate obstacles, and grow stronger. Staying in your comfort zone might feel good in the short term, but it holds you back from reaching your full potential. Consider the people you admire, the ones who have achieved greatness, the ones who have accomplished things that seem out of reach. What did they do that was different from everyone else? They took risks. They went after things that others were afraid to try. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They didn't wait for a guarantee. They moved forward anyway, despite the fear, despite the doubts, and despite the uncertainty. They pushed themselves out of their comfort zones and went after what they wanted. It's easy to say, "I'll take a risk tomorrow," or "I'll try something new next week." But the reality is that tomorrow is never promised. Tomorrow turns into next week, and next week turns into next month. And before you know it, you've spent years staying in the same place, avoiding risks, and holding yourself back from the very things you want to achieve. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to take that first step. It's easier to stay where it's comfortable, where it's familiar, but that's not where success happens. The fear of failure is often what keeps us in our comfort zones, but what's the worst that can happen? Failing doesn't make you a failure. It simply means that you tried, and that's where the growth happens. Every failure is a lesson. Every setback is an opportunity to learn and improve. And let's face it, no one who has ever achieved greatness did so without experiencing failure along the way. The people who succeed are the ones who fail and keep going. They fail, learn from their mistakes, adjust their approach, and try again. They don't let failure define them. They let it teach them. When you make the decision to step outside your comfort zone, you open yourself up to new experiences. You start to see the world in a different way. You start to understand what's possible when you're willing to challenge yourself. You begin to take ownership of your life and your future, instead of letting fear dictate your path. And in the process, you'll realize that the world doesn't stop because you're scared. It keeps moving. The only question is, will you move with it or stand still, watching from the sidelines? The beauty of stepping out of your comfort zone is that it doesn't need to be a giant leap. It can be a series of small steps. It can be trying something new today that you wouldn't have done yesterday. It can be reaching out to someone you admire, or applying for that job you thought was out of your league. It can be learning a new skill, taking on a challenge, or making a decision that feels uncomfortable but right for you. Every small step builds your confidence, and with every new experience, you expand your limits. Before you know it, you'll have created a life that's full of opportunity, growth, and success. But none of this can happen if you stay in your comfort zone. Nothing will change if you continue to wait for the perfect moment. Success requires action, it requires risk, and it requires you to leave the safe, comfortable space that has been holding you back. So, stop waiting, stop hesitating, step out, take a risk, and start moving toward the life you've always wanted. Fear of failure is one of the most common reasons why people don't take action, why they don't pursue their dreams or goals. It's a natural feeling to want to avoid failure. It's uncomfortable, it's disappointing, and it can make us question our abilities. But the truth is, failure is an inevitable part of success. If you aren't failing, you're probably not trying hard enough or stepping outside of your comfort zone. The fear of failure is something we all experience, but the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is how they respond to that fear. Failure is often viewed as something to be avoided at all costs, but in reality, it's an essential part of growth. Every mistake, every setback, and every failure is a lesson in disguise. It's a chance to learn, to grow, and to adjust your approach. When you fail, you learn what doesn't work. which is just as valuable as learning what does. In fact, some of the most successful people in the world have failed more times than they can count. They didn't let failure stop them. Instead, they used it as a stepping stone, a tool to help them get closer to their goals. It's important to remember that failure doesn't define you. It's not a reflection of your worth or your abilities. Instead, it's simply feedback. When you view failure as feedback rather than a personal flaw, you begin to shift your perspective. You stop being afraid of making mistakes, and you start seeing them as opportunities to improve. Every successful person has encountered failure in their journey, but it's how they've handled it that makes all the difference. They didn't let the fear of failure paralyze them. They used it as motivation to keep going, to try again, and to push further. One of the biggest mistakes we can make is to let the fear of failure prevent us from taking action in the first place. We get stuck in the what-ifs. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I'm not good enough? These questions can keep us frozen in place, afraid to take that first step. But the truth is, you will never know what you're truly capable of unless you take that risk. You'll never find out how strong you are, how resilient you can be, or how much you can learn from your mistakes if you never give yourself the chance to fail. Rather than seeing failure as something to avoid, start to embrace it as a necessary part of the process. Every successful venture, whether it's a business, a career, or a personal goal, is built on a foundation of mistakes and failures. When you stop fearing failure, you give yourself the freedom to take action without worrying about the outcome. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and start working with what you have, knowing that no matter what happens, you will learn and grow along the way. It's also important to remember that failure is often temporary. The pain and disappointment of failure fade with time, but the lessons you learn remain with you forever. Each failure gives you more experience, more wisdom, and more resilience. And as you continue to fail and learn, you start to develop the confidence to take bigger risks, to challenge yourself more, and to pursue your goals with greater determination. In many cases, the fear of failure is greater than the actual failure itself. We imagine the worst possible scenario, but when we face our fears head-on, we realize that the consequences are often not as severe as we thought. Most of the time, the failure isn't as catastrophic as we imagine, and we are more than capable of handling it. The key is to keep going, even when things don't go as planned. It's about having the courage to take that first step, the resilience to keep moving forward after setbacks, and the willingness to learn from each failure, knowing that it's just one part of your journey. Ultimately, the fear of failure holds us back from achieving great things. It keeps us from taking risks, from trying new things, and from stepping outside our comfort zones. But once we recognize that failure is not something to fear, but something to embrace, we can move past it and start taking action. The more you fail, the more you learn, and the closer you get to your goals. Failure is not a stop sign. It's simply a detour on the road to success. The key is to keep going, to learn from each mistake, and to never let fear stop you from doing what you're meant to do. The truth is, no one is ever truly ready. We often think that we'll wait until we have everything figured out, until we feel completely prepared, until we have the perfect plan in place. But the reality is that waiting for the perfect moment is simply a form of procrastination. The perfect moment doesn't exist. You will never feel 100% ready, and that's okay. The key is to start with what you have, where you are, and take the first step. Waiting for the ideal situation can lead to endless delays and missed opportunities. The right time to begin is now, even if you don't have everything figured out. The idea of being ready is an illusion that can hold you back from moving forward. It's easy to get caught up in the thought that you need more resources, more experience, or more knowledge before you can take action. But the truth is, you can gain all of those things by starting. Waiting for the perfect conditions will only keep you in the same place. There will always be something you feel you need more of, but that doesn't mean you should delay taking action. Starting is what propels you forward, and it's in the act of moving that you'll learn, adapt, and grow. Consider the many successful people who didn't wait until they had everything lined up before they began. They took risks, stepped into the unknown, and moved forward despite the uncertainty. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They created the moment by taking action. It's not about having all the answers at the start. It's about being willing to learn as you go. The willingness to start with what you have and improve along the way is what makes progress possible. When you start with what you have, you give yourself the chance to learn on the job. Experience is something you can't get from books or lessons alone. It comes from doing. No matter how much you prepare, there will always be things you can't anticipate, and that's okay. The only way to truly prepare is to take action and adjust as you go. Every step forward gives you more experience, more knowledge, and more insight. It's like building a muscle. By taking action, you strengthen your ability to deal with challenges and obstacles. If you're waiting for the perfect moment, you might be waiting forever. The truth is, there is no such thing as a perfect moment, especially when it comes to personal growth and pursuing your dreams. The conditions may never be perfect, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't act. You have everything you need right now to take that first step. There's no reason to wait for more resources, more information, or more time. Starting with what you have allows you to move forward, even if it's imperfect, and that's what matters. It's important to embrace the idea that starting where you are with what you have is enough. You don't need everything to be perfect. You don't need to know exactly how everything will unfold. You simply need to begin. The act of starting will give you the clarity and direction you need to figure out the next steps. You can't predict the future, and you certainly can't control everything, but you can control whether or not you take action. That's where the power lies. Starting with what you have also means that you're not waiting for external circumstances to change. You're taking control of your own journey, and that's one of the most powerful things you can do. It's easy to blame circumstances, resources, or other people for why we're not moving forward, but the truth is, you have the ability to take the first step, no matter your situation. The conditions may never be ideal, and you may never feel completely prepared, but that's part of the process. The only thing that truly holds you back is the belief that you need more to get started. So, let go of the idea that you need to wait until you're ready. The perfect time is now. Start with what you have, take the first step, and trust that you'll figure things out along the way. You don't need to have all the answers right now, and that's perfectly okay. The key is to take that first step and let the journey unfold as you go. The sooner you start, the sooner you'll learn, adapt, and move closer to your goals. The only thing standing between you and success is taking action. Don't wait for everything to be perfect. Start now and let the process guide you. Procrastination is often considered the silent killer of progress. We all experience it to some extent, whether it's putting off a task, avoiding a decision, or delaying the pursuit of our goals. It's easy to push things aside for another day, another week, another month, but the longer we procrastinate, the more opportunities we miss. The key to overcoming procrastination is understanding that it's not about waiting for the perfect time or perfect conditions. It's about taking action, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it's inconvenient, and even when we'd rather do anything else. The longer we delay, the bigger the task seems, and the more daunting it becomes. What started as a small, manageable task can quickly grow into something overwhelming, simply because we keep postponing it. Procrastination tricks us into thinking that we have more time than we really do, and before we know it, the deadline or the opportunity has passed. In the moment, delaying feels like a relief. We convince ourselves that we'll feel better later, that we'll have more time or energy to tackle the task at hand. But that's not how it works. Each day we delay makes it harder to take that first step, and each day we delay, the task becomes bigger, more stressful, and more difficult to tackle. One of the main reasons we procrastinate is fear. Fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, fear of not measuring up. We create all these worst-case scenarios in our minds, imagining how bad things will be if we fail. But the truth is, failing isn't the end of the world. Failing is simply a part of the process. It's a stepping stone, a lesson to be learned. The real failure lies in never trying at all, in letting fear control you and keep you from taking action. When we procrastinate, we are allowing fear to win. We're allowing the what-ifs and the doubts to stop us from moving forward. But when we take action, even in the face of fear, we're taking back control. We're choosing to move forward despite the uncertainty. Another reason we procrastinate is the desire for perfection. We tell ourselves that we need to get everything just right before we start. We want the perfect plan, the perfect conditions, the perfect outcome. But the truth is, perfection doesn't exist. There will always be things you can't control, obstacles you can't foresee, and things that won't go according to plan. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't start. The pursuit of perfection often holds us back from taking the first step because we fear that we're not ready or that the result won't meet our high expectations. The reality is, perfection is overrated. It's the process of doing, learning, and improving that matters, not the perfect outcome. One of the most effective ways to beat procrastination is to break the task down into smaller, more manageable pieces. Often, we procrastinate because the task seems too large or too overwhelming. But when you break it down into smaller, achievable goals, it becomes much easier to tackle. Start with just one small step. Don't worry about the end result. Just focus on getting started. Once you take that first step, momentum builds. The task that once seemed impossible becomes something that you can actually achieve one small piece at a time. Another important strategy is to set deadlines and hold yourself accountable. When we don't set deadlines, it's easy to let tasks linger and put them off indefinitely. But when we set clear deadlines, we create a sense of urgency. And urgency is often the key to getting things done. Accountability is another powerful tool in overcoming procrastination. Whether it's telling a friend or colleague about your goal, setting up reminders, or even rewarding yourself for completing tasks, having someone or something to hold you accountable can push you to take action even when you don't feel like it. It's important to recognize that procrastination isn't a reflection of your character. It doesn't mean you're lazy or incompetent. It's simply a habit, a way of dealing with fear, discomfort, and uncertainty. The key is to break that habit by taking small, consistent actions. Every step you take toward overcoming procrastination makes it easier to continue moving forward. Start today, even if it's just a small step. Don't let the fear, the doubts, or the desire for perfection hold you back. The only way to make progress is to take action, and the sooner you start, the sooner you'll see results. Action is one of the most powerful tools you have in achieving success. We often think that we need to have everything figured out before we take the first step, but the reality is, you don't need to know everything in order to start. The most successful people didn't get to where they are by waiting for the perfect time, or by having all the answers from the beginning. They took action, even when they weren't sure of the outcome, even when they didn't have all the details, and even when the path ahead was unclear. Taking action not only moves you closer to your goals, but it also builds confidence, provides learning opportunities, and creates momentum. When you take action, you stop relying on guesswork or hypothetical scenarios. You start learning in real time. There's no substitute for experience, and experience comes through action. It's in the doing that you learn what works, what doesn't, and what you need to adjust. You can theorize, plan, and strategize all you want, but until you put those plans into motion, you won't have a clear understanding of how things will unfold. Action is your testing ground where you can experiment, make mistakes, and refine your approach. Taking action is also a great confidence builder. The more you do, the more you learn, and the more competent you become. Each small step you take reinforces the belief that you are capable of achieving what you set out to do. In contrast, when you don't take action, you reinforce the fear and doubt that hold you back. When you keep planning but never execute, it's easy to question your ability. Action, on the other hand, proves to yourself that you are capable, and each action you take will make the next one feel easier and more natural. A common misconception is that taking action requires perfect conditions. We often tell ourselves that we need more time, more resources, or more experience before we can do anything meaningful. But this thinking is simply a form of procrastination. The truth is, there will never be a perfect moment to start. The right conditions might never come, so waiting for them can keep you stuck for years. Instead of waiting, start with what you have. You have the skills, the knowledge, and the drive to take the first step. Action doesn't need to be grand or monumental. It can be a small decision, a tiny move forward, but it's a move nonetheless. Another reason why action is so powerful is that it creates momentum. Once you start moving, it becomes easier to keep going. Think of it like pushing a car. At first, it might seem impossible, but once you get it moving, the momentum makes it easier to keep it rolling. Similarly, when you take action in any area of your life, the more you do, the easier it becomes. The key is to get started. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it's small, but as it picks up speed, it grows larger and more powerful. Action works in the same way. Small efforts build upon each other, creating momentum that propels you further along your journey. Moreover, action exposes you to new opportunities. Often, we think that opportunities will come to us when we're ready, or when the situation is perfect. However, the truth is, opportunities are often created through action. When you're moving, you attract people, ideas, and experiences that you wouldn't have encountered otherwise. Opportunities rarely come to those who are standing still. By taking action, you create a ripple effect that brings new possibilities into your life. You begin to meet new people, discover new perspectives, and open doors that you didn't even know were there. The more you act, the more the world around you begins to respond and adjust to your energy. Finally, it's important to note that action doesn't have to be flawless. You don't need to know everything, and you don't need to be perfect. In fact, mistakes are part of the process. The key is to keep moving forward despite them. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn, to refine, and to improve. The people who succeed are not the ones who make no mistakes, but the ones who continue to take action in the face of those mistakes. Success is a result of persistence, and persistence comes from taking consistent action no matter what. Ultimately, action is what transforms your dreams into reality. It's easy to talk about your goals, to plan for them, and to imagine what they would look like. But it's action that turns those dreams into tangible results. Stop waiting for everything to be perfect and start doing. Start with what you have, take that first step, and keep moving forward. The more you act, the more you'll learn, the more confident you'll become, and the closer you'll get to achieving your goals. Action is the key to unlocking your potential and making your dreams come true. Consistency is often what separates those who succeed from those who don't. It's not always about how talented or smart you are. It's about how persistent and consistent you can be in pursuing your goals. Success doesn't come in one big, sweeping moment. It's built slowly, step by step, day by day, and the most important ingredient in that process is consistency. Without it, progress stagnates. Without it, even the most out plans can fall apart. The power of consistency lies in its ability to turn small, seemingly insignificant actions into meaningful results over time. When you show up every day, even when you don't feel like it, even when things are tough, you build momentum. That momentum compounds, and before you know it, you've made significant progress. The small, everyday actions you take may seem trivial in the moment, but when done consistently, they add up to something much greater than the sum of their parts. Whether it's studying, working, exercising, or building a business, the key to success is in the consistency of your effort, not just the intensity. It's easy to get excited about a new goal or project. The initial enthusiasm can be overwhelming, and you feel ready to take on the world. But that excitement fades and the hard work begins. This is where many people falter. They begin strong but lose their drive when things get difficult or when the excitement wears off. It's at this point that consistency becomes crucial. It's easy to work hard when you're motivated, but it takes true dedication to keep going when motivation wanes. This is where success is made, by doing the work, day in and day out, even when you don't feel like it, even when it seems hard, and even when it feels like nothing is happening. Consistency also builds discipline. The more you make a habit of showing up, the less effort it takes. Over time, doing the work becomes second nature, and you don't have to think about it as much. The more you work at something, the easier it becomes to keep going. The challenge becomes less about finding the energy to get started and more about continuing the habit you've built. When you make consistency a part of your routine, it becomes part of who you are. It becomes the foundation upon which you build your success. In the beginning, the results may not be immediate. In fact, it may feel like you're not making any progress at all. You might even question whether your efforts are worth it. But the truth is, consistency never fails. Results may take time to show, but they are coming. They are building beneath the surface, just like the foundation of a building being laid brick by brick. Each small effort you make is one more step toward reaching your goal. You might not see it right away, but that doesn't mean you're not moving forward. And once the results start to show, you'll be grateful that you stuck with it, that you kept showing up, even when it felt like nothing was happening. Consistency also allows you to make mistakes and learn from them. When you keep doing something over time, you give yourself the opportunity to fail, adjust, and improve. You don't have to be perfect from the start. The key is to keep going. When you allow yourself to make mistakes without quitting, you learn valuable lessons that you wouldn't have if you had stopped. The consistency of your efforts gives you the room to grow and evolve. And as you improve, so does your ability to handle challenges and setbacks. The path to success is not always glamorous. It's often a long, winding road filled with ups and downs. But those who stay consistent, who show up day after day, are the ones who will ultimately reach their destination. They understand that the work isn't always going to be exciting, but it's the steady, consistent effort that will get them to where they want to go. So, remember that consistency is not just about doing the same thing every day. It's about showing up, staying disciplined, and trusting the process, even when you can't see the immediate results. Keep pushing, keep moving forward, and let consistency be the force that propels you toward your goals.